hoping for the best here, because um, yeah, I don't know what's going on. It seems like there's like a tornado happening outside or something. So I don't know if it's weather related. It took a minute for this to allow me to start streaming again. I think the other one's still running. So yeah, I know it's going to be like a shorter stream, but it wasn't intended. It's kind of an abrupt ending. So all right, just jump right back in and yeah, Atheism Unleashed, Part 2.
Left to faith in action, assumptions, if you want to call it assumptions. It's faith. There's no self-evident. No. Self-evident
There's no self-evident no?
would deny the problem of induction. Like, if that was true. I'm pretty sure that's an intel. I could be wrong here. I'm pretty sure if the self-evident position was true, you'd be basically refuting Hume. If it were true. But because it would have to be
I think a lot of philosophers have refuted Hume. Have you looked into that?
True about, because of the thing I just said. For that to be true, you're basically assuming past, present, future is also self-evident. It's not. Spiro, $5, thank you. I put my coffee cup down on my table this morning. The table self-evidently now has a cup of coffee on it. I'm an atheist now.
I put my coffee cup down on the table this morning. The table self-evidently has a cup of coffee on it. I'm an atheist now? Okay. That was very loud. Welcome back. Who did I see? Spooky Bed here. Uh-oh. Not again. Yeah, that last one, I don't know. I don't know if it's an issue with the weather or what, but yeah, just glitched out. So I came back for more. So no, if you wait, it's self-evidently, like, I think that's mean that's by what is self-evident, like a thing. Like, I can observe the properties of me. Like, I can observe the properties of a, I don't know, think of an object, a ball, right? And it's obviously round. Like, I don't know how else to, like, that's what I think of when I think of like things that are self-evident, right? Things that we can all like agree on by virtue of the fact that like we exist and we have experiences and we share experiences.
Yeah, I mean,
welcome back, Silver Wolf. Who dis? The JimBob? What? Oh. Back at it with BimJob. Yeah. James Robert. Yeah.
What's fun is you as a Christian, just to mock is just to say God's self-evident. Then it's axiomatic.
As much a flying spaghetti monster.
We can say God's self-evident, but if God was self-evident, then nobody would deny God. Right? Like, that's the whole point of the claim. Like, the claim is that, like, anything, if you say it's self-evident, it's something that, like, another person can't reasonably deny. Which I guess is the Christian position, right? But, it's untrue because other people can reasonably deny it.
All right.
So I'd have to say you're just wrong about that.
Thank you very much, Jay, for your opening 5 minutes. Now turning over to your on 5 minutes on the clock.
You little rascal, you wabbit, Jay.
All right, that is a lot, and he speaks fast.
No, he doesn't. I wish I could speak.
He does talk pretty fast. We only had this at 1.25, and I'm trying to listen to JimBob at like 2 times speed or something. So yeah. We accept God when he reveals himself to us. It's a choice and an opportunity.
not as much as Ben Shapiro-y, and I more like Jay.
Doesn't get me at all, and that's fine. That is good. So,
What?
yes, rationality is at the basis of.
Does he say he doesn't get me at all? What is this? Some kind of, what does Yaron think this is? Some sort of speed dating, like philosophy grinder?
Well, no, I mean, Jay was basically trying to, establish his position for him, right? Which is the problem. Like, you kind of do a debate, and he's obviously saying that he's straw manning the position in his opening. So
Doesn't get me at all.
Of all human knowledge, it is the means by which we know the world.
I'm
It is the only means
I must be in a dick
by
mood
which we
today.
have to know the world.
yeah, you're just a child. You're a child in a grown person's body.
Reason is the definition of it is the faculty that identifies and integrates the material provided by man's senses. It is a faculty of the mind. It is a faculty of human consciousness. Yes, consciousness does exist, and its existence is, one of the foundational metaphysical axiomatic concepts, together with the fact that there's something to be aware of, that is existence out there. And as
No. He's already way off. He's
already way off, man. I shifted the chat box a little bit too. I don't know if that looks better, if anybody else gives a shit. Only one person mentioned it before, but
he didn't understand anything Jay just said.
I'm not here for the video.
He's in his own mind. Look at the Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand. Not your name, by the way. Bagel.
What the fuck was that? I missed that the first time. I was like driving shit earlier when I was listening to this. He puts a bagel on it. What the fuck is
There's
that?
a consciousness, and there's this out there. Okay, no.
You put an eggplant on my upper lip. Come on, bro.
If you listen to what Jay said, you don't have direct access through sense data, what you call consciousness. Hello? Jake? No, I love Jake. Jake's awesome. It's Yaron I'm making fun of. Just because I can't do a really good Australian accent. Eh? You poofta? You little poofta? Eh? Eh? Oh? Oi.
and
Keep working on that, buddy. Oh, hey, welcome back, Missing Blood. Yeah, gotta start a new stream here. Whatever he said was great. What are we talking about?
Reason and rationality, which is a commitment to reason, are the only ways in which we know what exists, and we know about reality, and from which we can
Okay, Tom Jump. Okay, T Jump Brook.
integrate into abstract concepts,
Yeah, similar language.
including those abstract concepts that are necessary to figure out how to live a good life. There is no other way in order to discover what is good, what is even life. Every concept being used relies on the fact.
You can't discover what is good. It's it's going to be a naturalistic fallacy, as Jay pointed out. It's impossible. You can't discover the good as some sort of a collection of senses out there.
No, you get this all wrong. Like you learn, right? There's a process by which you learn what is good, right? Like usually, like there's by teaching, and then there's observation, and then there's like by your own action and observing the consequences of those actions, right? It's a very complex process. Good isn't like, once again, like this singular, this thing you can point to that's like an object. It's a concept, right? Like of what is morally right.
In fact, even from a Christian view, our nous, our moral indicator, our metaphysical organ, is not interacting with some particular, like a smell. Like, we're not determining this by smell or sight.
No. The faculty that you're speaking of is reasoning. You use reasoning to find this out. Like if you good that's it's not a sense in the way that you're talking about, right? It's a mental process.
So Yaron here, as Jay predicted, is assuming all of these things that his own rationality and reasoning. I'm such a dick. Oh man. Lord forgive me.
Lord,
his own
forgive me.
rationality and reasoning can't actually ground his intuitions. They're not found as sense data or anything out there.
That is the thing that grounds intuitions. It's
fact
what's he
that
talking
we
about?
integrate the evidence of our senses, the facts of reality, into some conceptual understanding of the world. That is what rationality involves. Rationality, therefore, can indeed bridge. We can indeed bridge the is-odd gap.
What?
Once we understand what is human life.
Excuse me?
You idiot.
What the hell did he just say? That's all I heard. That's all I heard right now. You widow wasco. What are you talking about, dude? You can bridge the is-ought gap? And wow. I didn't.
We can certainly understand what ought is, what is necessary for its sustaining.
What? Jay, you must have been rolling your eyes right now over on the other side.
Ought is what is necessary for its sustaining.
That's why I think, even though it might be like unprofessional, aka me, to have both people during the opening so you can see the reactions, I'm almost...
No, I mean, it depends on what your profession is. If your profession is being a flaming ticket on the internet, then congratulations, you won the prize.
100% certain, right, when Yaron said, well, we can bridge the is-ought gap by reasoning what's necessary for sustainability. Jay was like rapidly blinking.
For sustaining that human life.
That's not even what he actually just said.
Morality is a consequence of figuring out what are the requirements for human beings to live. Meaning comes from an understanding.
No. Gosh, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I thought because he had white hair and a lot of books, maybe decent microphone. I thought.
Yeah, having a lot of books doesn't say anything, and that's why I always think it's cheesy when they do the podcast in front of they're all in front of their bookshelves. Look how many books I read. Maybe that's just me. That dude has to be a secret furry. There's no way he can keep up that accent without being... Accident? You mean accent? Yeah, I think you mean accent.
Maybe. No, he just basically did the vegan argument. I always ask, when is it okay to eat meat? And they say if it's necessary to survive. I ask them, why is it necessary to survive? He's basically saying the same thing. Well, we can decide what we ought to by doing what we need to survive. Wasco-y wabbit.
Understanding of life and understanding of our own values and the values necessary to sustain our life and to
yeah. Have you talked to any, I don't know, that would be fun to send him back in time and maybe talk to some, I don't know, aggressive Vikings?
Yeah, nobody's ever said that people haven't gotten values wrong. Like, a lot of people have differing values. That's a fact, right? It's great that he can reference something like that, but of course, how's he gonna be like, oh well, look at the terrible shit that Christians have done historically, Yeah, I just, oh well, they all got Christianity wrong. great. Yeah, it's like I don't know.
The hell is wrong with this guy? Man. Who does so arbitrary based on what you want. Great. I want to take over the world. I want to be an emperor king. I want to aggregate and standardize all.
Hey Hillary, it's good to see you. Which animal are you? Oh, Tog, yeah. My I guess my spirit animal is a dragon.
Force under one arm of JimBob. Okay? Wascooey Wabbit.
Don't ask.
To build
It's also my Chinese birth year symbol or whatever.
a life and to flourish.
I want to establish a creed and a war cry under the flag of JimBob.
Tog is the god animal. Do you have a war cry like Alex Jones?
Flourish as human beings. So meaning comes from rationality and reason, as does morality. So value judgments, virtues, all come from
Rationality comes from rationality, and it's rational to think so. Thank you very much.
Approach to understanding.
He says rationality comes from rationality, and it's rational to think so.
Human life, figuring
The bridge
out
of autism.
from
It's unbelievable.
observation of life, and an integration of the facts of life, and understanding of the kind.
By the way, we're watching this, which is great. It's pretty much valuable in itself. But
I don't feel like Jim Bob's really like listening to what he's saying. Honestly, do you? Do you think so?
if you'd like, any of the super chats or the Bob chats, by the way, are going toward the unlocking of.
Hey Sandy, good to see you. It brought up furries. Oh, Tog likes to identify as a donkey. I hear. They have another name for those.
Atheism Unleashed, which is its own segment and own character. It's an extension of Skeptical Keith. I think you'll really enjoy it, just so you know.
Kind of animal human beings are, to an understanding of what works and what doesn't, what is good and what is not, for the human animal as it is.
You little rascal, you rabbit.
You know, every single value that we require in order to survive, in order to live, every single value needs to be constructed, needs to be discovered by the use of rationality. From the most primitive man, from our need for tools, our need for weapons, to the most sophisticated science.
He's got quite a few of those. That's actually, it's pretty impressive. There's a lot of things he has pop up, the animations
that we use today. All of those are discoveries of the rational mind. All of those are discoveries.
You should get something like that with like, you know, like monkeys throwing shit at people or something. I can have somebody like throw a turd across the screen and have it land on Jim Bob's face.
No one discounts that.
Of
what?
A mind observing reality, experimenting within reality, and figuring out what works, what is right, what is true, and what is not.
Right.
What? So they're all achievements as human beings, from great art
to
the great scientific discoveries, to the amazing technology that allows us to do this debate right now. All.
I got like 7-ish animal characters, maybe more. One comment is stuck. Oh, with the furries, yeah.
All products of human reason. That is, to deny reason or to reject the link between reason and civilization is absurd and ridiculous. It is not self-evident, of course, but it's pretty easy if one knows history and understands human life and understands the world in which we live, to see and to observe and to understand
just amazed
that all civilizations, to the extent that they were civilized, relied on reason, and to the extent that they adopted reason and rationality to that extent that they were civilized. I think that's 5.
Failure.
Yep, that's nearly bang on. So thank you very much, guys, for your opening
JimBob
statements.
doesn't like
and
it.
now we're going to get into a period of cross-examination. So
He is displeased. Okay, so as like I said, I watched a bit of this earlier. The cross-examination gets pretty sketch right off the bat. It's rough. It's rough. So seems like JimBob is trying to emulate Andrew Wilson. He's being a total jerk and mocking his fellow humans. For the most part, yeah. And he's not doing much in the way of presenting counter arguments because these guys they're not weak debaters, you know what I mean? So he's probably finding it hard to insert himself, so he's just mocking the atheist in this case.
you guys are going to have 10 minutes to lock it up, and we'll start with Jay asking questions to Euron.
Right. Well, yeah. Thank you for the opening statement there. I think I have a better understanding of what your position is there. You said, for example, at one point that what we do is we sort of work in the world and we test and we try and we then figure out what works versus what doesn't work, and that this helps us to understand that we can derive an ought from an is, because essentially what I heard you say was something to the effect of this allows us to live a life and that we should have a flourishing life, etc., something to that effect. But what I heard was a lot of assertions, but I didn't hear a justification as to how we got to an ought from an is.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, 5 minutes. These are deep philosophical discussions. We're not going to get a complete analysis of how we get an ought from an is.
Oh, you're not going to do it?
I do commend people
You're not
who
gonna do
are
it.
interested in seeing the complete working out of this.
He's not going to do
check out Ayn Rand's essay in the
Ayn Rand, yeah.
Virtue
Jay.
of Selfishness.
Hey, Jay Dyer.
First essay, the morality of objectives, in which she lays out in great detail, I think, how you get.
Hey, Jay, have you checked out Ayn Rand? I think you'd really... Hey, Jay, I think you should check out Ayn Rand sometime. He's like, do you really think that I haven't checked out Ayn Rand?
Okay, I get it.
If you go weed Ayn Rand, maybe you know better, Jay. Maybe you know better what I'm talking about here. I'm such a dick. I can't help it. It's low-hanging fruit. It's immature. Okay. See, it's hard to get away from it. I mean, look at even.
It's not that fucking hard, bro.
Ortho Eric's, $4.99, a product of Reason. See, everybody, forgive us. I guess it's a meme day.
We will not forgive thou.
An ought from an is, but the outline of it is this: human beings face a very basic alternative, as all living beings face, and that is to exist or not to exist. That is the fundamental starting point.
Say the question.
And then the question is once you are geared towards existence, if you're geared towards non-existence, if you've chosen not to exist, then morality and values and all of that are irrelevant. They don't matter. They only matter in the context of existing, of life, of pursuing life. Plants pursue life.
Right.
They
Does that make... See, he doesn't get it. Oughts come from preference statements and transactional agreements. There is no inherent ought, and we decide them for ourselves from our experiences. Exactly. Yeah, it's all based on our experience, and moreover, our shared experiences, right? I wonder what the demographic of his viewers are. Mostly trolls, I believe. I want to know their age range and occupation. Yeah. Males 20 to 50, just like the rest of the internet.
therefore have values.
What? Whoa!
Let me.
Whoa!
You have a question?
Hey, I've been told that 100% of my audience are males in their like 30s or whatever, but I have proof otherwise. I have receipts.
Fine.
Well, I mean, I thought it was a cross-examination.
Whoa,
So cross-examination.
do you hear what he just said?
You know,
What
you
is
have
he,
to
a
get a
vegan?
thought out to be able to examine it. But okay.
Oh,
Well,
what a
I'm
little
not trying to cut you
bitch.
off. Go ahead, say whatever you want.
What a little.
You know,
Jay's
a plant
mean. Jay's mean.
pursue particular values. They pursue water. They pursue light, and you can see them pursuing that.
They're not values.
Because they're pursuing life.
No.
Human beings face the same alternative a plant does, for life or death. The difference is that we don't have it pre-programmed. We are not pre-programmed. We're not predestined.
I mean, I'm very interested. That's the right look, Jay. That's the appropriate look. That freeze frame right there. So because a grass grows up to the sun, it has a value. No, it has an impulse. It has a reaction, as Posh would say.
Can you tell me how you determined the grass was valuing the sun or merely reacting to external stimuli?
If a grass values the sun by growing in its direction, then you should see, because he's applying this reasoning to humans, he's trying to make some parallel to humans. There are humans who don't value life. So where are the based on Yaren's reasoning, Wabbit, there would be blades of grass that don't go toward the sun because they just don't value it. They're just not valuing the sun. I mean, this is crazy talk. This is like lunacy.
No, it's just the grass lacks the capability, right, as an organism to move from wherever it's located. Like, it can't move itself to a more desirable position. Like that doesn't even make sense. Jesus makes money. Hey, what's up, Captive Desk and Dying Sun? Lots of turnips with enough money to keep JimBob's super chats rolling in. Yeah. Rich bastard. We should rob him.
This is insane.
No, I'm joking. That's a joke.
Damn
Not
it.
really good.
Destined to choose life or to
Plant
know how
rights.
to live.
Plant rights.
What is required in order to survive? Human survival is not automatic. Human survival requires we take certain actions, that we choose certain actions. We are
he's getting
quite
killed.
capable of suicide. So we need actually to make choices about
Oh, here we go.
what
Here we
we
go.
do. And now,
Thank you for our resident atheist. Roots no, they don't like nitrogen. No, grass doesn't like oxygen.
Yes, they do like it. It's like, water. It's what plants crave, bro.
Not true. You're attributing and transposing human value concepts, right? Thought heuristics and whatnot onto the behaviors. Okay?
Blah, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah.
I think this bullshit about providing arguments is sitting on some bullshit.
So Iron, just stop it. Just stop it. Okay? Go in the thinking.
Stop
corner.
it.
what leads to human survival is something that we have to learn from.
He loves the attention. He fucking gets off on that shit. Yes, it could value a tangential artificial light that is brighter or better spectrum, or the sun could be concealed, and the grass sees no value in growing towards a non-energy source.
Partially from experience.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. So, but you said things like, we see plants striving to live.
Yeah.
Humans typically
Yeah.
strive to live versus choosing
Yeah.
not to.
Yeah.
Those are statements, again, of things that are. So they're not justifications for the.
Everything that lives is striving to live. Like, if it weren't, then it would be dying,
Ought. They're
Agree.
just
That is the
statements
is. That is the is.
of- How
Or
is that a justification?
dead.
No, the justification is that you need to do certain things. That is the ought is the need in order to live, right? You know,
Yeah. Why is it a need? Why ought we live, Yaren?
Because we can't do otherwise.
Now, the only thing I have in common with Yarn is this strong line in my brow. Wheeler.
The crease in your forehead. Plants think before they am. Because of the energy they receive, exactly. And they did, they don't have, again, they don't have the means,
We are
the capability
literally
as an organism to relocate themselves to a more preferable position. They're stuck in wherever they're, seated, and they're not, they're less adaptable, one might say.
Potheads.
In order to live,
but that's a statement of how things are. It's not that's not an epistemic justification. That's just another statement of how things are.
Once you
oh, here we go.
Have to sustain life. Now,
once you have to, you don't have to. Why do you have to sustain life? What are you talking about? This is why Ayn Rand was such a pile of shit on the lawn of philosophy. Just a giant pile of dog shit. It's just assumed that because values can only exist if you're alive, then therefore we just grant that.
I know it hasn't been 4 hours.
Valuable in itself to be alive, that we ought be alive. No. Because the is statement values what we know of values and concepts and making judgments and propositions as human beings, not as blades of grass, Yarn, that there's a precondition for that. The antecedent is being alive. So Ayn Rand was all, well, because our moral values and pursuits require us to be alive.
Oh, geez, now he's doing Ayn Rand.
Therefore,
I went mono. It's my Bluetooth went out. I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. Oh, hey, Spooky's still here listening and doing stuff. Probably got to go do stuff soon too.
Staying alive and keeping people alive is a moral pursuit in itself. Is a value in itself. No, you got no ought. Anson Knowles says the transcendental proof of atheism, there is knowledge. No, that's not it. The existence of God isn't necessary condition. That's no. I hope you're making fun, Anson. I hope that's a joke. I hope that's a joke. I'm not sure your position. Your picture, bagel, has me thinking. No, that's invalid.
Yeah, I don't know that was a good argument. I think he's trolling. I heard Jim Knob used to fleece the flurfers too. I think he's smart enough to know how to grift his audience that isn't. Oh, nice. Life is self-correcting. If it doesn't seek to further life, it stops living. So no ought either way, it just is. Yeah. Yeah, I think the ought comes out of the product of, we happen to exist, so then what is, the best possible state of existence. So, yeah, I think, like Sam Harris has a pretty good argument on that. Just as, or T-Jump, I mean, it's fairly similar.
In its form and its conclusions, and both premises are completely, they need arguments for everything you just said. Each sentence needs its own argument.
Oh, there is no justification for sustaining life.
Okay.
If you decide you don't want to sustain life, then as I said, value judgments are irrelevant.
But by the way, if you'd like to see myself and Mr. Dyer on the screen here, along with
self-show
theology, there's going to be humor, and I'm bringing my guitar. by bringing my guitar. So I'll be playing
Apparently, he'll be bringing his guitar, folks.
first ever, at least live
value judgment that you want as kind of an axiom to start with, right?
No, it's not. It's not. It's just. It's a fact of reality that living beings.
So if it's a fact, then it's not it's not an ought.
No, the oughts are.
Well, we're asking how we get oughts. You stated a fact. How do we get an ought from a fact?
To sustain life.
How do we get an ought from a fact? You just keep stating facts.
No, I'm not saying facts.
Oh,
I'm saying
the giggle.
The fact that you're alive and you don't want to have a shitty life indicates that you ought to have a good life. No.
Poor guy.
No. That's not how it works, but
why would he ever be challenged inside his little crew of Ayn Randians, right? You know, I have a little compassion because I understand once you're locked into that zone, these things are obvious because you're so hell-bent on self-evident truths that you forget that maybe you're applying self-evident truths to all sorts of categories that you can't. And obviously he is, and Jay's catching him on him, and he's...
The way that Dyer is talking, I would say there are no oughts, just preferential is.
He's now giggling like a widow Ascoi Wabbit.
And indeed,
you just said it as a fact. What do you mean? You're not stating facts. You just said it.
Oughts are not divorced from facts. Oughts are facts.
Well, no, wait a minute. Facts are states of things.
The need.
Oh, yeah, the ought is the statement. Like if the proposition is true, right? Then, I think they're about to talk about that. Like if the proposition is true, that then if the proposition is true, then it necessitates. I'm trying to think of
to survive. Oughts are facts about.
Gentlemen, just a second.
You
just.
Okay, it's gonna jump in again. I totally lost my train of thought.
During this period of cross-examination,
I want to remind you that Australia's
the definition of what ought to be the case, but the question was epistemic justification for how we get value judgments or oughts from states of affairs or states of matter or facts. It doesn't work to just say that an ought is just another fact.
He's all flustered. Look at him. Look at him.
No, it absolutely does.
Like, yeah, the ought is based in the statement of fact. And then if the proposition is true, then you ought to do, hey, Ernie Redden, good to see you. You ought to do the thing that is most, in this case, beneficial, right? I ought to believe facts. No, I think he says you ought not to believe facts, as far as I could tell. I'm not sure exactly.
In the sense that once life is chosen, one needs oughts in order to know how to pursue that life, and those oughts are discovered.
All Yaron is saying is, can you just, if I give a conditional if, then can I have my ought? And Jay would say, fine. We're talking about the ultimacy of where we ought go, how we ought behave, how we look at things, why pursue truth. In other words, if holding a belief that's false produces the outcome in Yaron's view of survival, right? If it increases survival, really that's what he's saying. He's pretty much taken a Darwinian approach here, is that survival is the ultimate goal, and whatever then supports survival is the good. And so falsities could be good, believing false things, if it produces survival. So can horrible things or horrible actions, so long as it produces the value called.
But it's a meta, right? Because we have the reasoning, right? The capacity for reasoning, right? So, like, that's what you talk about. Like, okay, beyond that, beyond like just mere survival, right? What is the best possible outcome? If we can conceive of the best possible outcome, then we ought to work towards the best possible outcome, right? Like, and that would be a be necessitated by reason
existing, and he's just assuming it. And it's not only does it have some horrific consequences when you logically follow this down, it's just not unjustified.
Through a process of understanding what life requires, and those are facts. Right?
But do you understand that
one has to examine the world in order to evaluate what leads.
Why is he wearing a jerk hat? Because he knows he's a jerk. Why is the best outcome the one you ought to go for? Well, because by definition, the best outcome is the one that is most beneficial to your well-being. And everything that, everything that exists, is trying to do just beyond just survival. Like if you have the capacity for reasoning, then your reasoning is like basically a function that drives you towards like more well-being. That's what I think. Like, that's what societies strive towards. I can't explain, but yeah, it's like that the argument that well-being is basically the grounding of our morality. It's how we flourish. So that's the best possible outcome, best possible world, as T-Jump calls it. This one guy to relive his youth. The glory days. Tries to define best. Yeah. The maximally great outcome.
Leads to life, what allows for survival, that is the good, and what is bad
That's
for survival,
point,
that is the bad.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
how do we know?
That existing is like a state of affairs, right? And then when you can't just take the state of affairs and then make it identical to the value about the state of affairs. And people
take the state of affairs and then make it identical to the value about the state of affairs. No, it's like you derive the value of the state of affairs from the fact, right? Because if you didn't have that state of affairs of existence, and then you wouldn't have, you wouldn't be able to assess your own state of affairs, right? Like it wouldn't make sense.
make this jump all the time and
judgment.
It doesn't even faze them that they make the jump. This is the same problem
What jump?
of self-evident truths that because you have sense data and you couldn't possibly deny it without appealing to it in some way, therefore it's self-evident or something like this. But
right, because I have sense data, that's the only reason that I can rationally, like, I wouldn't be making an argument if there's no sense data. How are you even talking? How are you, like, you don't exist. Just poof.
that doesn't tell
Poof, just
us
disappear. No.
why we are.
Disappear. Sets up a trolley problem.
Ought to value sense data, nor does sense data tell us the validity of sense data. It can't. So it's all these people struggling.
We can place a separate value on sense data, right? And then we can take data from other people and compile all the data, and then you get
Really fundamentally with the fact that the closest they can get to as a self-evident truth would be that their existence is faith-based, which is kind of counter to the statement itself.
Yes, I have faith that I exist. If there's one thing that I have faith in, it's like the fact of my own existence, that I have to wake up every day at some point and find sustenance and shelter and all of these like really important things that make me survive. You know, it's kind of just a fact of reality. I happen to exist, and that's like one thing that I can definitely have faith in for now.
They just want their brute facts. Can I have my brute facts and eat them too? Well, no, not when you debate someone like Jay or me or a variety of other people who are going to catch you. Breakfast tacos. Breakfast tacos. I hope you hear me, breakfast taco. You can't use self-evident truths of the naturalistic world on us.
The good. You can just keep sort of asserting that is the case, as if that's some sort of self-evident thing, and I'm questioning whether that's self-evident.
There is no good outside of.
Look, I managed to avoid walking into a pit of acid. This sense data can give you a level of trust through the ability of the organism to survive over time. Yeah, it's got to be consistent, reliably consistent, right? That's one part of how we figure out that's valid, right? Like when JimBob gets done spewing big words, he's just slightly left of canned ham on the Bible stories. Yabba dabba do. Yeah, I haven't seen him do philosophy before, so I thought this was fun.
Life. That is,
how do you know that? You're just asserting that.
Good out there. There is no.
These are assertions. What's the basis for the assertions?
Because there is no, make an assertion of what there is no.
What's the justification?
That's crazy because he's making a statement that there's no good outside of this now, and yet from his own position, he can't locate the good in reality. That's what's kind of silly about this, is that he's saying, well, no, there's no metaphysical, supernatural ontology outside of what there is here. And yet you go, where's the good? Can you point to it? Can you hold it? And you can't.
For the assertion, that's what debates are all about.
Value is that which a living being seeks.
How do we know that? You keep saying that. What's the justification?
You're talking about value statements. You're talking about value statements. Values are things that living beings seek.
I don't think you understand the question. The justification for that assertion, not just to keep asserting it, but how do you know that that's the case?
Look at him. He's like, what? I can't just assert.
Why should we think that's the case?
Which assertion? We're going around in circles, which is not very productive.
Oh, stop it. Try to you're trying to go in a roundabout, and Jay is like, he's like the traffic guy who's hold on. Halt. Hold on a second.
Who goes there?
You're aware of the David Hume question, so you just keep asserting it without giving an epistemic.
Yes, and I've given an answer to the David Hume question, which
you an answer, but it's not justification for why this is the case.
Which is fine. If you refuse to accept it,
if you refuse, audience, to accept that I've debunked Hume and I've completely bridged the Izod gap by merely asserting that I did, and then freaking out once someone goes, wait, what did you just say? How do you justify what you just said? And then he says, well, I'm simply going to assert it again.
It's just, it's not very.
It's not an answer. It's another assertion that's not an attempt to justify epistemically what the assertion says.
What do you think justifying epistemically means?
Well, it classically means justified true belief in the Gettier problem.
In what? How? No, explain that. Don't throw terminology and explain. What does it mean?
I mean, I'm not throwing terminology. It's the classic definition of what.
I don't really care.
He doesn't care what he just asked.
Asking.
I mean, you don't care. You ask me what it is, and you don't care.
I mean, justification, which I think I'm giving, and I would like you to explain what epistemic justification to the audience.
I'm explaining. I understand, but I'm explaining why the answers that you're giving.
I don't think you know what epistemic justification is.
So there's not a justification.
Gentlemen. They'll get you.
Gentlemen, just quickly, let's try not to speak.
That would be great if Rattlesnake launches and becomes a very popular debate channel, and every time he intervenes, it's some fact about Australia.
Reach out too much. It's going to kill.
Why should we believe that those are facts and that there's an ought from a fact?
Because
and also whoever's asking the questions during the cross-examination, guys, whoever's asking the questions is asking the questions.
I think it's like the third or fourth time he's had to intervene and say that.
And then Yaron, you can feel free to ask Jay any questions you'd like after this. So let's continue. We've got a few more minutes on the clock.
Right. So again,
you're on.
by like if you were to go by like court standards, you would say that was badgering at that point. Like the question is pretty much asked and answered, like, you know, as far as he's going to go with it, and so that's why he just starts.
I have a question.
It's
I
my
understand the
cross-examination. I don't know, like, you can't let me.
He doesn't care.
You can interrupt all you want when you're cross-examining me. So again, this position is based on various forms of self-evidence and axiomatic assertions, which is fine for him to say, but I'm asking a question that's very well known in epistemology. It's the question of justification. I'm not coming up with any foreign, wild definition of what that means. Justified true belief goes back to Plato.
It's pretty basic.
Been used and brought forth in epistemology ever since that time. So to say and just to assert that my ethic, and speaking of his position, it just is an ethics of life and of flourishing. That doesn't tell me that I ought to accept that, nor does it tell me what the good reasons to believe that that is the case. Maybe it is the case. I believe I'm a very pro-life, pro-flourishing position holder as well. But why ought we to accept that position? And that's the key issue, the question that comes with epistemic justification.
I am saying that the conventional way in which people view epistemic justification is wrong. So I'm challenging, and Ayn Rand is challenging 2,000 years of Western philosophy with regard to epistemic justification. Absolutely.
So that's rough, because I coming into this with, like, you know, basically that would be like a whole other debate, you know. So, but I think he was basically trying to say is he could still argue the point regardless of that. Like, you don't even need that. The guy just keeps pressing him on this one issue. He's like, I could work around, you know,
And why ought we accept this new definition?
So we're asking a question. There is this is-ought challenge that people have presented, which is a legitimate challenge from their perspective of epistemic justification, which is dramatically flawed because it doesn't recognize the fact that values only arise in the context of a living being.
Okay, how do we know that? You keep asserting that. How do we know that that's the case?
Because what is the meaning of value? What is the definition of value?
Okay, so it's circular, so it's true by definition, so it's analytic.
There is no such thing as true by definition. That is complete nonsense.
You just defined it as
whenever I want. Yeah, you can do that. Aliens ought to wipe out Earth to prevent us from causing a greater disaster. Well, I think the point here is like it was like going back to we agree on the simple like assertion that we both obviously exist, you know, like he's kind of going back to like, so he's trying to like drag it so meta that it's like indiscernible from where the conversation started. Do you remember where the conversation
started? She just contradicted.
I mean, between JimBob's bullshit and, you know, the actual conversation that was going on.
Find your terms.
Well, the guy who takes a self-evident approach in his opening says, you know, now there's a problem, right, with self-evident truths like definitions.
You need to be able to reduce your terms to observations in reality. So,
like, I don't understand how he starts with self-evident as some foundation. And let's say, forget definitions, universals, right? That
glossed over the start. You just jumped right into it, so we don't get like.
But a circle
it's kind of hard to tell what we're doing.
Is a circle, and an apple, and so forth. And yeah, now he's questioning definitions.
You just keep saying it. How do we?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Look at, he throws his arms up. He just said the standard for truth is observation and reality, right? Well, if the standard for truth is observation and reality, and I know people get tired of this because this move.
If I can't see it with my own eyes, then why should I believe it?
But it's a good move. It's a good move. Listen to what people say. Just listen. The standard for truth is observation and reality. If that's a truth statement, where did he observe that in reality? He didn't. He couldn't.
What the fuck are you talking about, sir?
This is a metaphysical analysis. This is not found as a tree. This is not found as matter. You don't observe the statement or that it's true out there, which is Jay's asking, well, what?
Make the statement of observation, and the statement is either true or false.
What are you talking about? What's your methodology? I mean, that might be a good question. Like, when we ask you, how do you know stuff?
Observation precedes the statement of the fucking, what the fuck are you talking about?
People go to all sorts of places. Sometimes I'll say, instead of how do you know that, I go, well, what was your methodology in determining that, what did he say? The standard for truth is observation reality.
We know that. Okay, guys. So that's 10.
And that can't even be true. I mean, that alone obviously is a problem because your methodology is now outside of observation reality. And not only that, but there's all these necessary things that need to be true before your observation can be possible. So he relies on all these things that are that have been in effect for how many years from his own worldview, from his own creation story or whatever, right? How many things were preconditions that if they were observed.
There's no creation in scientific like theory, like it's not created. Created necessitates a creator. There's no creator theory in science. It doesn't exist.
And propositions were made about those things. They would be true. And now he goes, no. The truth started the moment a human being had language, and that's their view. And yet, taking a self-evident view, I mean, how many things would be self-evident?
How many things would be self-evident that you didn't need to make a statement about? Maybe the fact of my existence. I didn't think I had to make a statement about that, but here we are. Show me the truth. You can't handle the truth, nerdy rodent. All right. The truth is, I am probably just about out of time now. Need to try to get something productive accomplished today. Now that I've had my fun, I've had my cake and I've eaten it too. So I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend so far. We'll resume this video at some point later. Much love to everybody in the chat. Nerdy Rodent, Captive Desk, this one guy, Spooky Bed Hair, Hillary's emails, Our Dying Son, James Apperson, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, Sandy, everyone came back. Missing Mod, I know Missing Mod was here earlier. Yep, Viking Silver Wolf. So much love, be well, stay trusty, and I'll see you when I see you.